The Clone Wars animated series brought us a variety of new and interesting characters.
That would be me.
While also using pre-existing lore to establish a fan favorite.
You have my attention.
It even resurrected the enigmatic villain turned antihero from the Phantom Menace.
Please.
The direction of this show was destined to enhance the prequel trilogy with plans for many stories going forward. With high aspirations and big plans ahead, Disney then suddenly decided to pull the plug mid-production on the 6th season. Some argued the Clone Wars series was becoming too graphic for a channel aimed at a younger demographic. Others felt Disney sabotaged the series to avoid producing content for a competitor. Several episodes were left unfinished in terms of the animation, but others were simply not finished. There are several story arcs I am looking to cover, but our focus in this video will surround the cancelled Bounty Hunter story arc referred to by fans as Cad Bane vs Boba Fett. We will be looking at the character history of the young Boba Fett played by Daniel Logan. In reference to the upcoming Disney Plus original The Bad Batch, we will be analysing this cancelled story arc from the original Clone Wars series, establishing how it could fit into this brand new sequel series. As part of George Lucas's vision for tying the prequels and the original movies together, the second entry in the prequel trilogy, Attack of the Clones, had many intricate details within its immersive story. One subplot in particular was dedicated to the beloved original trilogy character, Boba Fett. What made Boba Fett so unknowingly popular? For a man of few words, his portrayal in Empire Strikes Back resonated with audiences, where he was remarked as effortlessly cool for the mystery factor he brought to the big screen. Sadly, this was made somewhat redundant during the events of Return of the Jedi, giving his character a demise that most fans would call embarrassing. In Legends material published before George even began writing the prequels, Boba Fett's story was salvaged as his timeline continued beyond Episode 6. Published in 1992, the Dark Empire comic book series saw Boba Fett wearing familiar corroded armor. He was face to face with Han Solo once again, but the comic was vague and did not detail anything significant about the Sarlacc pit escape. Further details of this escape, however, were published across two short story collections in 1996. Tales from Jabba's Palace detailed the escape itself, and Tales of the Bounty Hunters noted Dengar's involvement with nursing Boba Fett back to health. The majority of the content detailed in these short stories was also used as a basis for the Bounty Hunter Wars stories. For the heavily infatuated fan, these stories were a saving grace for their notable involvement with enhancing an iconic side character.
Boba! The whole thing was just a dream?
On the other hand, one question remained: what was to become of Boba Fett's origin? As part of the anthology short stories in Tales of the Bounty Hunters, Daniel Keyes Moran attempted to explore this origin in the short titled The Last One Standing, The Tale of Boba Fett. This was set before the events of Episode 5, where the origin story is vague and unexpected. Fett is revealed to be a lawman under the name of Jasta Mareel, a name which some may recognize as being reused for Jango Fett's father figure in the 2002 comic book series released by Dark Horse Comics. Through retroactive continuity, Boba Fett's canonical origin is brought forward in Episode 2, and therefore supersedes any previous attempt at shedding light on this enigmatic character. The young Boba Fett was portrayed by New Zealand-born American actor Daniel Logan. In Episode 2 alongside Logan, Tamara Morrison played Jango Fett, a remarkable bounty hunter and a reliable human specimen for cloning. The Kaminoans were able to engineer a fully efficient clone army and have them ready within 10 years. The reasoning behind using a human template was explored in the Darth Plagueis novel by James Luceno. Creating an army based on his genetics, Jango had only one request: for one clone to be unaltered so he could raise him as a son. Logan was cast at the age of 14 to play the younger incarnation of the iconic character. His performance was brief, but the character was utilised appropriately with a very clear enthusiasm. Along with this came the intelligible moments of pure empathy for the sudden loss of his father, Jango Fett, at the hands of Jedi Master Mace Windu. Over many years entering into his adult life, Logan as an actor has fully embraced the fact that he portrayed the younger incarnation of such an exemplary character. Throughout his acting career, Logan has often made reference to his appearance in Star Wars. Particularly, this became all the more apparent when George Lucas requested Logan to return to the role in the form of animation, therefore reprising his role in Season 2 of Star Wars The Clone Wars.
You started when you murdered my father. I'll never forgive you.
Recapping the events of his appearances, the second season saw the character's return in the episode Death Trap. Boba joined a group of clone cadets in training in order to get close to one Jedi in particular. His personal mission was to assassinate Mace Windu for orphaning him during the Battle of Geonosis. Over the course of these 3 episodes, we see a desperate Boba foiled at the hands of the Jedi. He confronts Windu about his father's demise, only to then be sent off to a Republic prison. His next appearance was minor but speaks more volume in its subtleties. In the episode Deception, Obi-Wan visits a Republic prison disguised as bounty hunter Rako Hardeen. Challenging Hardeen, Boba looks over his shoulder where we see Cad Bane. He gives a nod of approval to start a fight in order to instigate a prison riot. This interaction was subtle but marks for their first shared interaction on screen. Also from the 4th season is the Bounty Hunter specific episode, which is appropriately titled Bounty. This episode delivers in expanding the background and new horizons for Asajj Ventress. Making the change from Sith assassin to bounty hunter, she unintentionally becomes the 6th member in Boba's new crew. This episode saw Boba donning a new set of armor, leading his crew to protect a mysterious cargo aboard a space train. Once the cargo was revealed to be a young girl taken from her family, this hits home for Ventress, who decides to save the girl and leave Boba behind to face the consequences. There were plans for Boba to appear in the 8-episode story arc Dark Disciple, which was adapted into the novelization by Christie Golden. This is a novel I would highly recommend, tying up the loose ends for Ventress. Boba is involved to a significant capacity, luring Quinlan Vos to find Ventress, and then to his shame, after the events of the Bounty episode, helping Ventress in rescuing Quinlan from imprisonment by Count Dooku. This rescue sequence was shown as a segment of unfinished animation. Boba now has his iconic green armor, which is a plot point left untold, something I feel was going to be utilized in the next story arc.
Can I at least put up a fight?
During the Star Wars Celebration Anaheim convention in 2015, an entire panel was dedicated to the Clone Wars TV series. Specifically, the untold stories that did not make it into finalized animation. Dave Filoni and Pablo Hidalgo delved into the preliminary and approved designs behind a variety of unfinished episodes. Specifically, the Bounty Hunter story was of popular interest. Over the years, more details were revealed about this story. However, at this convention, the big reveal was a short segment of preliminary animation. The sequence screened at this event sees Cad Bane and a young Boba Fett isolated in the Tatooine desert. Based on summaries of this storyline, their business is supposed to be a rescue mission of a kidnapped child held captive by Tusken Raiders. Bane and Boba stop for refreshment, sitting on the ground alongside Todo 360 sheltering from the twin suns behind their dewbacks. Bane continues to sup on his beverage, confidently announcing, "We're about to be ambushed." This exchange continues, where Bane hands Boba a tracking device, convincing him to allow his capture by the Sand People. Bane knew trespassing on the desert would attract the Sand People's attention, as the Tatooine Desert is considered to be their land. Once the Tusken Raiders launch their attack, Boba puts up a fight while Bane looks to annihilate any that walk in his path. Capturing Boba successfully, Bane then uses his rocket boots and while midair proceeds to warn off the remaining Sand People with his flamethrower. Allowing the few survivors to flee with Boba in their possession, Bane reassures Todo that he will be fine, providing the Sand People aren't hungry. In order to locate the Tusken Raider camp, Bane needed Boba to be captured. As part of the plot, I would imagine this sequence involving Boba to play out similarly to how the Sand People are portrayed in Knights of the Old Republic.
Shall I blast him now, Master?
along with their live-action return in the second season of The Mandalorian. Their tribe is misunderstood, and Boba would likely learn this without the distraction of other bounty hunters. Based on the rumored outline for this story, Cad Bane was trying to mold Boba into becoming just like his father. Jango was regarded as the best bounty hunter in the galaxy, and Bane wanted to challenge this position. Since Boba is an exact clone of Jango, Bane planned to train and then triumph against him and therefore beat the best in the galaxy. Setting the events in motion, this preliminary clip would have likely taken place in the first out of 4 episodes of the Bounty Hunter story arc. Pondering on how this fits into the anthology series structure, my own personal speculation sees this episode taking place prior to Boba acquiring his armor. Although unfinished, it appears obvious Boba is without the iconic Mandalorian armor during this scene. Potentially, this could be in possession of the Sand People, where the big reveal could see the accidental discovery of this at the Sand People camp. The armor does not currently have a visualized origin story set within the new canon. According to varying sources, Boba claimed his father's armor and repainted it, which somewhat contradicts the Clone Wars plot of using Jango's helmet as a bomb. In Legends material, Jango actually had 2 suits of armor, his blue armor and then the green armor of Jasta Mareel. Boba would have later inherited this armor. I personally would love to see him unexpectedly find this important piece of his father's history in this story arc. Even though we know Boba has the armor in Dark Disciple, the timeline for the Clone Wars was never completely linear in its delivery of episodes. This story arc could therefore backtrack slightly and then proceed to the conclusion ahead.
Bane!
In 2017, as part of the Animated Origins and Unexpected Fates panel from Celebration Orlando, Dave Filoni discussed the concept art behind the origin of Cad Bane's character, detailing the Western influence brought forward by George. The panel concluded with an unexpected clip. In the same preliminary style, this is referred to as Cad Bane vs Boba Fett, detailing a finale-style gunfight between the 2 bounty hunters. Seemingly betrayed by the other bounty hunters, Boba is left to fight alone. I personally love the eerie sound design with the wind chimes, enhancing the Western genre this story has taken clear inspiration from. Stepping forward in what appears to be an outdoor factory settlement, Bane is lying in wait, quite literally. He shuts Boba down, stating, "I wouldn't be so hasty now, boy." Out from the shadows appears Todo 360 and C-21 Heisinger, clutching at the lesser-known bounty hunter character Serapis, who was featured in the Clone Wars Season 2. The other hostage is a character we have never actually seen before, a miner named Stim, his name found in some leaked concept art. After more confrontational dialogue, Embo and Marek appear behind Boba, with Bosk stepping in at the last minute. Unfortunately, both hunters do not appear to be aiding Boba this time. I find this surprising, especially from Bosk, who has been seen prominently noted for having Boba's back throughout this series. I would speculate there is likely an unknown plot detail covering this assumed betrayal. Announcing the failure of Boba's insurrection, Bane demands his surrender, implying he will let everyone walk away unharmed. Cornered, Boba looks over to Bosk for a chance to face Bane one-on-one, leading to the shootout. This sequence of shots is done very meticulously, especially the sound design once again. The conclusion to this duel is left ambiguous, cementing the iconic dent in Boba's helmet. Since Bane is not seen beyond the Clone Wars series in any medium, I would consider this to be his poetic demise. Across many tweets and fan interactions, it has been confirmed by Daniel Logan himself that he did in fact record the full script for this story. Knowing that the audio exists, along with clear signs indicating the episode was in production and set for completion, it would be a shame not to utilize this material. Sadly, nothing further has been revealed other than Logan, like many of us, still wishes for these episodes to be released one day.
We don't usually work with rigs.
As it currently stands, the prequel-era incarnation of Boba Fett has not yet been touched by the mouse and his mighty gauntlets. Personally, I feel this unreleased bounty hunter story would fit perfectly into the Bad Batch series. From our current understanding of this upcoming show, it is primarily set after the events of Order 66 and post-Episode 3. However, from what we have seen in the sizzle trailer, it looks like a substantial portion of the story may take place before these events, before the Clone War ends. Therefore, this may leave some room for expansion with some of these unfinished episodes coming into fruition. Thankfully, nothing from the Clone Wars era would contradict this story, as it seems far removed from the rest of the show with no Jedi appearing. Ideally, this could be placed before the Clone War ends, but I see no harm in this story taking place after Revenge of the Sith. This bounty hunter story would be a detour from the main plot. It could even potentially be written to include the Bad Batch characters to a certain extent, but I would prefer this story to remain as close to the original as possible. The Bad Batch would not be necessary for this arc anyway, and would likely feel forced into a narrative where they do not belong. In terms of the number of episodes for this first season, it is unknown how many episodes the Bad Batch will have. It will likely match Season 7 of the Clone Wars with only 12 episodes. However, if this show does go all out, I would welcome a 22 episode season. This would therefore allow side characters to thrive without the need for even more shows. Specifically relating to Boba Fett, since he is technically a clone, involving his character would be a loose thread to tie him into the Bad Batch, and further enhance the series as a successor to the Clone Wars show. Plus, since Fennec Shand from The Mandalorian is supposed to feature, it would be very interesting to see Fennec and Boba come across one another this early in their timeline before the upcoming Book of Boba Fett. Speaking of this upcoming show, if it was strictly not on the cards for this story to appear in animation, the last resort may possibly see a live-action portrayal for this storyline. Currently, we do not know much about the Book of Boba Fett, other than it will be set post-Return of the Jedi and we'll see Boba and Fennec as the main protagonists. I would not rule out a live-action portrayal of this story as a chapter in this metaphorical book for Boba. Then again, I feel Lucasfilm would prefer to keep this current content set after the original trilogy in order to pertain to the larger demographic of fans. Across social media and other sharing platforms, there is a clear desire to see these unfinished stories completed. I particularly loved the dedication from fans going as far as finalizing the animation from the clips we have been given. As an example, it would not surprise me if someone went ahead and completed Crystal Crisis on Utapau, which is the only remaining set of full episode story reels awaiting completion. For the Bounty Hunter arc, if done correctly, the Bad Batch could be enhanced with additional stories, breathing new life into the unfinished Clone Wars episodes that were cruelly taken away would reconcile for the original cancellation, thus giving fans an additional piece of closure. Thank you for listening to my thoughts on how Cad Bane vs Boba Fett could be applied to the upcoming Bad Batch series. I hope you enjoyed. There are still a couple more unfinished stories which I would like to cover in further detail. Let me know in the comments your theories surrounding this concept. Please leave a like to support the channel, and for more content be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel DVD Review Studios.
Are you threatening me?